So let's take a look at dealing with session variables in a PDSA.NET Productivity Framework application. I'm sure you're all familiar with, you go in and you want to use some sort of session variable and you do session, oh boy, what did I call that? Right? You don't remember, or maybe you misspell it, right? Something like that. Okay, that's one of the biggest problems with session. Another problem with session is that everything that goes into session goes in as object and comes out as object. So if you're pulling something out and you want to put it into an integer, for example, you have to cast it. You have to do the convert dot to int 32 and then grab the session variable my value or whatever it was called. Okay, and the problem is if somebody else puts something in there other than an int 32, you could end up with a runtime error. That's not very nice. So instead, what we do is over in our utility project here, we give you a class called Web User Session. This Web User Session is where you can set up private properties and public properties to expose session variables. Now I can come in here and I can just type in, I want to keep track of the last state code entered, right? And I can do as string equals string.empty, for example, and then I can create a public property, last state code, and you can tell, I'm having trouble typing here, and I got to write all that code, right? So that's the way you do it. However, I got a better example for you. What we do, one of the things, and this is a utility I use a lot, is part of our framework, we have what's called the property builder. The property builder allows you to build in either C# or VB. And all I have to do is type in last state code and hit create. And it builds the public and the private properties for me. I can then copy them and paste them right in. Makes it a heck of a lot easier. I can do many of these at one time. So I could create current customer ID, current employee ID, and it'll build them all at once. And again, I can do it in either VB or C#. Okay, whatever you want. You can configure the whether you use Hungarian or not. They configure that in the configuration class. So pretty configurable, very easy to use. But what's nice about this class now is once that I have this in, if I'm in a class or if I'm in a page, what I can do is I can now type in user session dot, and look at that. There's now my session variables. And as you can see from the tooltip here, they're typed. Right? It goes in as string, it comes out as string. So I can now, assign that to something, right? Or I can retrieve it. Very quick and easy. Wonderful way of dealing with session variables.